Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are now live. Welcome to A Conversation with, and I am your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And tonight I am joined by, first question I wanted to ask you, Janaya or Janaya?
Janaya.
Janaya. We
Yeah.
are joined by Janaya Black, CEO of Blacksmith Enterprises. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have turned on Tubi, you have seen her movies, and she has two movies out right now that are absolutely off the chain. Surprise and Surprise too. But she's also been involved in a couple of other films: Turn of the Cheek, Street Code Broken, Sons of a Preacher, and God Forgives, I Don't, as well as a consummate author, editor, producer, director. Welcome, Janaya Black, to A Conversation with. How are you? How are you? How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I came across you because on occasion my wife and I watch Tubi, and we're very selective in what we watch, and we happened to click on Surprise, and we were like, "Ooh, that looks interesting." So we watched it, and we were like, "Oh, okay." And then we saw that there was a part two, and we were like, "All right." Now we're going to get into that later, but that's how I came to know who Janaya Black was. But how did you get started in the film industry?
Well, I started out as an author in 2004. I believe I started my first book. And then around that same time, my husband, he had, he went out to be an extra for 8 Mile, the movie with Eminem. So he
Mhm.
was cast as an extra in that, and then he got moved up to like a featured extra. So he really got bitten by the acting
Oh,
bug.
all right.
So as I was writing my book, I would be sharing chapters with him and other people in my family and stuff, and they were just like, "This should be a movie." So being that he was, starting to dabble in the acting world, he was like, "This should be a movie." So I was like, "Really?" And so then from that point, we just started kind of networking with people in the Detroit area who did film and television, and they just kind of we were blessed to hook up with some people who were veterans, and they took us under their wing, and they kind of just showed us the rope. So we started by shooting a trailer for my first book, and then it just kind of took off from there.
So you guys shoot a trailer for your first book. Now, neither one of you had any film experience as far as
No,
filming and knowing how to be on a set.
none at all. We
So how
just
did that go?
we were just blessed to come in contact with people who knew the business and who were
Mhm.
like veteran camera operators, gaffers, and we were just very passionate about what we wanted to do. And I guess they saw our vision and they liked our passion, and they just kind of took us under their wing. And so we would, they just came on and volunteered to help us. Like we just made sure everybody ate really good. And we just started filming stuff, and it just kind of just picked up from there. So we went from going doing like a project every couple of years to doing one a year, then the one or two a year. And so now we just really ramped up to doing five or more films a year.
Okay, so very early on, and this is something that I talk about a lot, and listening to some of the interviews that you did, you mentioned this as well. But very early on, you and your husband understood the value of building relationships.
Yes. Relationships are very important because people work with people they like.
Mhm.
So it's easier to do business and strike up deals with people who you know and have relationships with, as opposed to cold calling people or just emailing people out of the blue asking for things, because at the end of the day, like I said, people will do business with people that they like.
Right, right. So you guys you start out in film, but then you kind of move into stage plays. What was the decision, and why did you guys decide to do that?
Um, I'm a writer at heart. Like
Mhm.
I love all forms of the written word, and just after we did the trailer and we did a couple shorts and we shot our first movie, I wanted to try out my hand at stage, and so it kind of I adapted my first book into a stage play, and then I kind of got bitten by that bug too because I
Mhm.
really enjoy the instant gratification of theater. And then that led me to do my second play, which was called Idol. And then, we got wrapped up with the movies, and then COVID hit, and theater just kind of went to the back burner. But I would really love to get back in the theater.
So I used to shoot films, and then people said, "Well, you should try your hand at doing a play." So I did a play. I did two actually, pretty well received, and I said, "I will never do another play."
Oh, really?
Girl, the schedule is too much for
Okay.
me.
Okay.
So, and that was the question that I wanted to ask you. Did you find the process of rehearsal daunting as far as going from film to theater? Because film, you have table reads, but theater, it's like, yo, you got to do this every single week. So did you guys find that daunting, or did you just jump right in?
No, because we do rehearsals for our films. Like,
Hmm.
we have a minimum of 6 rehearsals for our films.
Oh
So,
wow.
the only difference that I really see in how we conduct our film rehearsals as opposed to plays is that during tech week, you're going every day. So when we did plays, we would do it like once or twice a week, and then tech week, you have the everyday thing leading up to the day of. But yeah, I really didn't mind it because I like to be able to work out all the kinks ahead of time, especially like, even because people are kind of surprised at how many rehearsals we do for film.
Mm,
Like, no, I want my actors to have their chemistry together. I want them to have a great idea of what they're doing as far as like their blocking. So then when we move into the space of film, it's just minor adjustments for camera. Cause it's like, on set, time is money. So we like to try to minimize how many takes we're doing by having rehearsals. And it's worked out well for us.
okay. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth a lot because, as I said, I have a lot of questions. So with your scripts, because I know oftentimes a lot of writers are married to what is on the page. So are you that type of writer where I wrote it, you say it, that's it, or are you open to, if a character is not feeling very comfortable with what they've been given as far as the writing assignment is concerned, are you guys open to saying, well, if that doesn't feel right and they wouldn't say that, what do you think they would say? Or do you say, well, let's work with that?
I can be flexible, but I can
Mm,
also be, no, I need you to say it this way. It just depends on the situation, because if it's something that's important to the story and the outcome of it, it might be like a nuanced thing, and that's why
mhm,
it's there. But a lot of times, like, I consider myself an actor's director. I do give the actors flexibility to bring pieces of themselves to the characters as long as it makes sense to the story. But there are those times where I'm just like, no, I'm a stickler. Like, no, it has to be said this way because this is the character. This isn't you. This is the character. But
mhm.
we do have those instances where, if they're saying a certain sentence a certain way and it just doesn't fit them or it's not flowing properly, I will allow them to make those adjustments.
Okay. So the first time, either or, you're watching a film that you guys have just completed or a stage play, and you're sitting in the audience where you're pacing around because you never really sit because you're just so nervous,
Yeah.
and you hear the reaction. What was that like the first time you heard an audience react to what you had put on the stage or on the screen?
It was the best feeling in the world. It was the absolute best feeling in the world. The first time was with our movie "Till Death Do Us Part," which was the very first feature film we did, and just sitting in the theater, it was that nervousness at first, and then hearing people react to things and talk back to the screen is just that, as a writer, like, that's your reward. Like, once you, like, it's like all the toil and stress you go through trying to bring it from pre-production to the finish line, like sitting in that theater and people hearing people enjoy it and really invest themselves in your characters and your storyline, that's just the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, and when you hear them cursing out your characters, I did a stage play, the first stage play, the conversation. It was about a group of five females, very best friends, and one of the females betrayed another friend. She basically slept with a boyfriend, and I'm in the back. And when they got to that part and she revealed that, I'm hearing the women in the stage start dropping B bombs and oh no, I said, and I looked at I said, oh, I said, okay, we did it because when you said something interesting, you said you want people to be immersed.
Yes.
So when you get that reaction, you know you've done your job, which is absolutely, the best. Like you said, it's the best feeling in the world. But I want to ask you about your company, Blacksmith Enterprises. That's a very interesting name. Can you tell us how that name came about?
It's a combination of my maiden name and my married name.
Okay,
So it was
okay.
kind of a way for me to, honor my father and my husband at the same time.
So now, did you come up with that name by yourself, or was that
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
partnership?
No,
Okay,
my husband and I are partners, but it started out as just kind of a company to house my books, self-publishing, and then it grew into kind of like entertainment infrastructure for all of our entertainment projects.
okay. And that's basically the next question that I want to ask you because again researching Blacksmith Enterprises is growing. You have films, you have stage plays, you guys do pre-production as well as film production, editing. So it just kind of organically grew into that, or was that the vision that you saw for this from the very beginning?
Yeah, it was just really for my books, for me to self-publish my books. I never thought I would be doing film. I never like it wasn't something like, when I was younger, like I always thought I was gonna be a singer. Like I used to be in girl groups and stuff like that. But I've always been a writer. Like I loved writing songs, I loved
Mhm.
writing short stories, and my mom was always signing me up for stuff at church and writing speeches and stuff like that. So it just kind of came about organically, like I said, when my husband, got bitten by the acting bug, and then he was reading my book, and like this could be a movie, so that's kind of where it picked up from. But it wasn't something that I ever really set out to do.
So let's go back for a bit because you said you wrote a lot, and I also read and heard, listened to you talk on another interview where you read a lot. I'm also an avid reader, but you said that came from a place because of something that had happened to you early on. Your parents were divorced, so you basically writing was a way for you to get your feelings out.
Yeah, coming up in a divorce, family situation, I
Mhm,
kind of had to condition myself to, kind of watch what I felt like I had to watch what I said
mhm,
to keep people from being mad at each other, because sometimes, parents of divorce, that can be kind of a unpleasant situation, and it
mhm.
can be unpleasant for the kids that are involved as well. So going back and forth between my mom's house and my dad's house, it's like I learned that, not to say certain things because I just didn't want to have certain conversations. And so in that, I held a lot of things in. So I found that by writing and using my imagination to tell these stories, it was just like a really good outlet for me.
Okay, so present day, you guys have a phenomenal stable of films. I haven't seen them all yet, um, but you talked about working with a particular set of actors for multiple films.
Mhm.
Why did you guys decide to do that? Because that's kind of Spike Lee-ish, Tyler
Well, because
Perry-ish.
um it's doing independent film,
Mhm,
and you have limited resources, so everything is precious, right? Especially time, your resources. And when you find a group of people who understand the vision and they're just as dedicated to that vision as you are,
mhm,
it's like it just becomes a cohesive unit. So when you have your crew that thinks like that, you have your actors that thinks like that, you always know what you're getting. You know they're going to show up on time. You know they're going to know their lines. You know they're going to deliver for you. And you know that if it has to go past 12 hours, they're going to write it out for you because they're just as passionate about it as you are. So when you find people like that, it's like you roll with them because, like I said, you know what you're getting. So, we go in these groups a lot of times and we see people say, we're tired of seeing the same actors and this, that, and the other, which I guess I get it from the viewer standpoint, but from the producer standpoint, it's like, no, these people, they really rock with us. They ride hard and they work hard. So we want to keep, now that we're able to do it as a business and pay people, we want to make sure that they're working. Like if we have something that fits them, it's yours. You know, we understand that we do have to go outside of our circle to cast for other roles that they may not fit, but it's like our family just keeps on growing. Whenever we find people that work hard like we do, we hold on to them.
So, and you said something that kind of stuck out. You said the fact that now that you guys are able to pay them, and it's nice to reward loyalty
Yeah,
because they was with y'all when y'all were just giving them craft services,
yeah,
which is good because you know if you feed people right, they coming back.
yeah,
But the fact that now that you and your husband Rocky are in a blessed position where you can pay people, oftentimes people may say, okay, I can pay, so now I'm going to go after that actor or actress as opposed to the person who's just as good but did it for copy and credit.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to talk about something that is very near and dear to me is people wanted to be cast in your films. They don't know you, but here they come in your DMs wanting to be in your films. And this is something that I talk about with a lot of young filmmakers and a lot of young actors and actresses that if there is an ask involved, there should be an offer first. So how do you guys handle people asking to, be cast in your films and there's no relationship, you guys don't know them, they don't know you, but the first thing out their mouth is, hey, Janaya, can I be in one of your films?
We usually direct them to our social media and let them know that that's where we post all of our opportunities, which is true. Whenever we have casting calls and auditions, we post everything on social media. So we just let them know, hey, you need to follow our page to look out for posts about upcoming opportunities. And then it's very important that you follow the instructions because that's the first way we know if you're serious or not. Because if we post a casting call, it always has in there what the requirements are, where to send your headshot and resume, and it always says don't inbox here. So if we post it there and we're telling you where to send the stuff and you inbox us on Instagram, that exits you out right there because you showing us you don't know how to follow instructions. So, but we always direct people to our social media, and let them prove themselves by, kind of either showing that they're serious or weeding themselves out.
Yeah, and I mean, being on set, one of the things or one of the skills that you have to have is listening
Yeah.
and following direction. So if it's right there, and then you're like, okay, see, you're not following direction.
Yeah.
So with your company growing, I'm sure one of the things that you guys also get are people with scripts,
Yes.
because you guys are producing, other people's projects now or other people's scripts now. So what's the protocol for those who may not know? What is the correct protocol for you as far as Blacksmith Enterprises is concerned when it comes to scripts or any type of work that someone may want you to do for them?
Um, well, okay, so that's twofold. So I'll address first for people who just want to submit scripts, and then I'll address for people who want us to do work for them. So for people who just want to submit their scripts, we don't take unsolicited scripts
Mhm,
because there is a legal liability that comes along with that. So if you send me your script and I didn't solicit it, you just send it to me.
mhm.
If I was a crooked person, I could take your idea and do what I want with it. If you sent it to me and you're not well versed in the business and you didn't copyright it properly or whatever, you're leaving yourself at risk. Now, also say I'm an honorable person and you send it to me and I never look at it, or maybe I look at it, you can, and I do something 10 years down the line is similar to yours, you can come and sue me and say I stole your idea. So for us as a company, we don't put ourselves in that position. It's like unless I know you and we can sit down and have a discussion about a project and put it together, that's the only way it would happen through our company because we don't take unsolicited scripts. Like if you send a script through email, it's never going to get looked at. It's immediately deleted. Um, and as far as people who want to work with us, it's like, okay, if you want to work with us, reach out and see how you could come be a PA on set, come work on set, build a relationship with us, come to our events, get to know us, meet us. Let's build those relationships so that we can see if we can work together, because you can't work with everybody.
Right.
It's business at the end of the day. And what people don't understand is that there's different ways to do movie deals with people. It's like, do you want to sell your script? Are you trying to have a partnership where you come in and you have somebody invest with you as a partnership? There's a lot of different ways that can look on the script side, like as far as how that transaction can take place. Now, for somebody who wants to hire us to do their production, if you have a script that you want to hire a crew and stuff, we can definitely sit down and talk about that because we do that as well. If it's something that fits in with our core values, because we Blacksmith Enterprise, like, we don't just do anything. It has to be family friendly or faith based, or something of that nature. We don't do anything that has like a bunch of profanity in it. We don't do stuff that has nudity or sex or anything like that. So if it's in keeping with what we do for our brand, then you can hire us to do that for sure.
Oh, okay. So let's talk really quickly about uh, film groups on Tubi on Facebook. Do you guys really take to heart what you hear? And I'm basically talking about your films,
Mhm.
um, because they can get really racy in some of those groups. So, do you guys ever read any of those comments? And if so, what do you do with them? If something's constructive or just criticizing, how do you guys normally handle that? Or do you even look at those?
Yeah, we do. We read a lot of that stuff because
Mhm.
they're a blessing and a curse, the Tubi groups, because the blessing is that we get to interact with Tubi lovers who are actively watching and supporting our movies. So I definitely look at what they say and I take it to heart. Like, I can tell the difference between somebody who's giving constructive criticism and somebody who's just trolling. And at the end of the day, you have to have a thick skin to be in this business anyway. So it's like, everybody's not going to love your stuff. That's just, it is what it is. But I look at the comments and decide, is it constructive or is it just somebody being, mean or hateful or whatever. And it helps us to grow. It helps me grow. Like, I can take constructive criticism if it's something that I can take into my next project to make us better. I'm definitely going to do that. And like, sometimes people will say stuff and you're not ever going to catch me in them groups arguing with anybody. But if somebody says something crazy, I might be like, well, even though you didn't like it, I appreciate you watching. And a lot of times they'll come back and be like, well, you know what, it wasn't that bad, or like, it was a whole thread about me some months ago on God Forgives I Don't, because a young man, he just dogged the movie. And
Mm,
I said, you know what? I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I'm sorry you like it, but I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it and give your feedback. And he came back the next day and he was like, you know what? I have to apologize about what I said about this movie, because even though I didn't care for it, I didn't have to be that mean about it, because I forgot that, the people who make these movies are in this group. And people just started going in on me like, well, she had to have thick skin and da, da, da. And he was like, she didn't say anything mean to me. I'm
right.
just saying, I feel like after she responded, I needed to apologize because I didn't have to be that way. But I didn't say that to him to make him come back and apologize. I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch it, because
Mhm.
whether you like it or not, it helps us that you watched it.
Right. Because you know what? Time is the one commodity that you can never get back.
Yeah.
So the fact that someone devotes an hour and a half, 2 hours of their time to something that you created, and again, like you said, no one is going to like everything. And if somebody says everybody likes my stuff, you're lying.
Hmm.
No one likes everything, but the fact that they did watch it, and the fact that he came back after some, reviewing of what he wrote, he was probably like, I didn't. It's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
he was probably like, you know what? If I didn't like it, just say I didn't like it. But to go in and then, you know what? In all honesty, Janae, sometimes when people do that, it's because you're somewhere that they're not that they want to be. I found that your company is doing very well. You guys are putting out phenomenal content, and someone sitting there looking at that, wanting to be in the position you are in right now, may feel a little jealousy and say, you know what, I'm just lashing out. And that leads to my next question, because this is what a lot of people don't understand. Now, you guys have been at this since 2004. And I'm sure when you guys started, there was the expectation of what was going to happen, and then the reality of what did happen, as far as what it really takes to make a film and to get it completed, and the things that people don't see. They see the finished product. They see a surprise. They see a surprise too. They see a God forgives, I don't. They see it on the screen, but they don't see everything that went into the making of that. So can you talk about the difference for you and Rocky between what you thought was going to happen and then the reality of what happened when the boots hit the ground?
Okay, yeah, let's get into that. So, with my first movie, The Breaking Point, we thought we were going to get $1 million budget. Jada Pinkett Smith was going to play the lead role. We stalked her at her heavy metal concert, and we just knew that she was going to eat this up, and we were going to be the next whatever in Hollywood. It didn't work out that way because the person that was supposed to give us the money didn't come through, and B, it's just reality and expectation are two different things. You know, it was a reality check. It was like, okay, what track record do you have to show somebody that you can take $1 million and make this movie make its money back? None. We just have a great story. Okay, well, that's reality check number one. Ain't gonna happen. Nobody's giving you that much money, and you don't have anything to show them that you can make them their money back. And then just as far as resources, it's like when we first started out, everything was done on a barter and trade and favors system, you know. So it was just kind of like you look at the TV and you see this, you know, awesome project that just leaves you inspired to go do that thing, not realizing that at the end of the day, everything you saw on that screen costs money, um, requires staff to help make it happen, requires talented people to make those lines come to life. And so, you know, just the whole learning process. I wouldn't change anything because it was truly a journey that I enjoyed. To be honest with you, I can't say that it was a horrible experience. Any of our, you know, paths that we had to take to get to where we are now, but it was definitely a learning experience, reality versus expectation. But it wasn't a bad one because we were very blessed. Like I said, we started out with veterans who had 20 years in TV under their belts. They knew how to work cameras and lights. And then we just had a lot of favor with people. Like, you know, yeah, sure, you can come shoot at my house. Yeah, you can come shoot at my restaurant, you know, just because they liked what we were doing.
Wow. Yeah, I remember when I first got into business and I told my wife, yeah, in a couple of years, I'm going to be in Hollywood and I'm going to be a big time actor and I'm going to be in this 20 years now. And I am in a totally different spot. And that happens also. The way, like you said earlier, when you created your company, it was for your books and that's what you saw. But then 2024, you have a full-blown production company. So sometimes that thing changes.
Mhm.
So the thing that you thought you wanted actually blossoms into something entirely different. You know, keeping with that same vision, but you know, it's like a tree, branches have been added to the tree. But let me ask you about this, because again, you guys have some phenomenal work. And something that I always talk about with filmmakers, especially independent filmmakers on any level, is commercial viability and production value.
Mhm.
So how important is that when you guys are about to make a film yourselves or are about to make a film for someone else? The commercial viability aspect and the production value aspect of your work or your product.
Um, it's funny because if you had my husband on here, he would give a different answer. So I am a creative. Okay.
Mhm.
I care about the story and the message of the story. The money aspect or the commercial appeal and all that, that's secondary to me. Like I understand that we have to make money in order to keep making movies, but my husband looks at it like, is this gonna make money? So that's why we complement each other because you know we're two halves of a whole, and he's the business, I'm the creative part. But for me, like the production value, I want my production value to increase with every project that we do. Like I want you to be able to, I want the viewer to be able to see our growth from every project. So like the same mistakes we made in project number 5, you definitely shouldn't see that in project number 10. So to me, like story and content, so that's why I don't like sequels. I don't know if you knew that about me or not. I don't like sequels. Like, so for Surprise One, I wrote and directed that one. For Surprise Two, I was a producer and I edited it because I was like, I'm not doing the sequel. There's no, like, I hate sequels, not because it's a sequel, but because a lot of times it doesn't make sense to do a sequel. People are just doing it to make money, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So for me, if the story for the sequel is not better than the first one, I don't want to do it. Somebody else is welcome to it. I just, I want everything that I personally write or direct to be unique. I want my catalog to be unique, which there's nothing wrong with doing sequels. I just don't like doing them because I feel like I don't want to just tell a story just to make a buck. I want the
Mhm.
story to be great.
Yeah.
So it's like I want my production value to keep increasing, but the commercial thing to me, I know it's important, but that's not my primary focus because I'm a writer. I want to tell good stories.
Mhm. So you write, and you write something so phenomenally creative, and then your husband comes in and says, "Well, Janaya, that looks great, but we can't this, we can't that. We may have to take that out. That's going to cause way too much to produce. That ain't happening." What are the conversations around things like that when that happens? Because you guys are partners, and as you said, you're the creative. He's the business mind behind the enterprise. So do you guys? I guess is it ever a clash, or is it just like, well, we're just having a difference of opinions?
Oh, we have clashes. We
Okay.
definitely have clashes. But iron sharp as iron. It's never like something that, where we're gonna, we beefed out or anything like that.
Mm,
But we definitely have those discussions because when we first started out, like it took a minute for me to learn how to be more concise because coming from the author world, you can go anywhere in a book.
mhm,
So when you get down to doing it for a movie, you have to be precise. Like, when do I have access to? I know there's a plane in the book, but I can't afford to rent a plane to fly over here. So how can we make this work in Detroit?
mhm.
So, that kind of stuff. But we've gotten I've gotten better about that. But like being that I'm a true storyteller, it's like I feel like everything is important. And so my husband be looking at me like, yeah, it's like 2.5 hours. I'm like, but I need it all. I can't. So, and then the movie will get done, and then we'll both be looking at it. I'm like, well, if you can tell me where something can be cut, I'll cut it. And then he'll be like, I really don't see where we can cut anything. It's like I'm watching it, but I don't feel like I've been sitting there that long. But then, we'll come back, maybe step away from it, and then look at it again, like, okay, well, maybe I can let that go. But it's like, we have those battles, and I had to learn how to compromise. But I think that's why, like, I've never had a desire to go to Hollywood because I'm creative. I don't want people telling me I have to change my stuff for industry reasons. You know what I mean? It's like if this is a story I want to tell, I don't want you telling me you can't say Jesus because that's not going to fit in with the mainstream stuff. No, the story is about Jesus, so I'm going to do it through my company and I can keep saying Jesus as much as I want to. So,
And that's very important. And I think a lot of filmmakers are beginning to go that route, especially with the barrier to entry being basically non-existence. If you have a iPhone 15, you got a 4K camera.
yeah.
So there's no reason why you can't shoot something. And that's when the relationships and the collaboration um, comes in. And the fact that the thing that I love about the two of you and your company is you own your own IP. And for people of color, that is extremely important because that's y'all's. Y'all own it.
Hmm.
And they can't take it. And that is just a beautiful thing. But I'm going to take a question from the audience. Can never unsee, can never unhear multimedia asks the question, what are your thoughts on new production companies buying book rights and producing the film, is that expensive or doable for new production companies?
I think it's definitely doable, just depending on who the author is. You know, if it's an up and coming author, then you're probably going to get a better deal, as opposed to it being like a New York Times best-selling author. But I think it's a great way to get content and to also help, get more exposure for that author. So, that's a great partnership route to go.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Well, I hope that answered your question. Can never unsee, can never unhear multimedia. And thank you so much for being here. Um, we're almost done, but I still got my surprise and surprise two questions for you. 'Cause I wanted to say them for I wanted to get all the technical stuff out the way, and then I wanted to get to the meat of the matter. But I wanted to ask you about something that you would tell a young filmmaker, because films cost money. So, what would be the advice that you would give to someone planning, but the funds are limited? What would you say to someone that's doing that?
Don't let that stop you, because like I said, when we started, we didn't have money to give people. Get out there and network with people who are have the same drive and interest as you, and make your movie. Like, find out who's good with the camera, find out who's good with lighting. Everybody needs to start somewhere. It's not going to be your best project, but it can still be a good project. And as long as you continue to level up with each project that you do, you're winning. But it's like, get that experience. Even if you have, like you said, like if you have an iPhone, do a short story. Just get out there to get the experience of learning what you like as a director, looking at different angles. Do you have a shooting style that suits you? Just don't let money be a reason that you don't do what it is that you think you want to do, because you don't. I mean, people will tell you, oh, you need to have a minimum of $50,000 to do a movie. Our first movie that we shot, I think we shot it for $6,000. First actual movie, because like our
Mhm.
shorts and trailers and stuff, like I said, and still that was like with bartering and trading for things. There are certain hard costs you have to pay for, like food to feed people, certain lenses you might have to rent, or pieces of equipment and things like that. But I mean, get with your friends, get your iPhones together, have a good script, and just start shooting and see what you can come up with. At least start building your resume with experience. That's a great place to start. So I would say, don't let money stop you from trying it out and seeing if you like it.
Yeah, because you know what? If money is the barrier, you ain't gonna never make nothing.
Never. Never.
You're never going to make anything, because when I made my first film, I mean, you said $6,000. I was like, y'all was balling.
That was our first feature film. Our
Yeah.
first, like, we did a couple shorts before we did a feature, and we
Mhm.
didn't have any money for that. We just, like I said, we would get some pizzas and some pops, and have chips and stuff for people to snack on.
Yeah, no, I didn't spend $6,000 on my first feature film. But it goes back to relationships,
Mhm.
because everyone that was in it was a friend. I used my mom's house. I actually, because I drive for public transportation, so a passenger, one of my regulars that I would pick up all the time, she worked at a law office. And I'm like, yo, I need an office space. And she said, I'll ask my boss. And he let us use it for the entire weekend,
Nice.
free of charge. So the relationships are so important in this business.
Yeah.
They are very, very, very important. So, surprise. Where did you come up with the concept for surprise?
Actually, the story was by Paris Jones, who is who has our partner on it,
Mhm.
partner producer, and he had the story for years. Like, he had just had it, and was just pitched it to Rocky one day, and Rocky was like, "I like that," and he showed it to me. I was like, "Oh man, that would be a really good story. I would love to tell that story." So he was like, "Well, let's do it." So it kind of went from there. I took his treatment and wrote the script, and we shot it last January, and it got picked up as one of the first Tubi originals from Detroit.
So now how does that work? To be originals. How do you get that designation?
Basically, if you pitch it to them and it's something that they like, they'll pick it up, like a license option, and they essentially buy it from the filmmaker and put it under their brand.
Okay. So let's talk about this movie. because when it comes on, and I'm not going to give it away because you need to go see it on Tubi, Surprise and Surprise 2. I'm not going to give it away. You got to go see the movie because it is phenomenal. But it comes on and he's proposing to the love of his life. And I'm like, okay. And then things start to kind of go left. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, now, wait a minute. He just proposed, but now he's got all of these questions. And I never really saw her do something to warrant these questions. So, what was, if for what you can say, what was his deal? Was this something that was always there, but just manifested itself when he got into a serious relationship with her? Or was this something that he developed because he was so in love with her that anything that even resembled amorous advances from someone else sent him into an entire tailspin? Because the brother was tailspinning.
Well, I didn't see it as him being somebody who was just overly jealous or anything like that. I saw the circumstances as being very questionable,
Mhm.
justifiably questionable. Because
Mhm.
you're a married man, right?
Yes.
If your best friend was calling your wife, would you kind of be looking at him like, what you calling her for?
Well, you know what? It would depend on the time of the day, and it would depend on how long they were on the phone. Now, I will say that going into the other room, I'm gonna call you on that. Now you're in this business. Sometimes if you take a meeting, but then again, your husband's in the business as well, so you don't really have to leave the room if you talk. My wife is not in this business,
Mhm.
so I may take a business call and I have to leave the room because she doesn't want to hear it. But if I'm talking to a woman on the phone, I'm sitting right there with her.
Yeah.
So.
It was set up to be in a way to make the viewer question
Mhm.
and empathize with him because it was told through his point of view the whole time. So it was done in a way to where when it got to the end,
Mhm.
most people would be like, I could see where he would have thought like he did, but it shouldn't have went that far because at the end of the day, the problem was a overreaching lack of communication.
Yeah, and that's what I was sitting there and I kept saying, I'm looking at my wife, I'm like, why won't he just ask her? Why
Right.
doesn't he just ask her? And one thing that I've learned being married I've been married for 36 years. We've been together since we were 15. So we're coming up on 43 years altogether.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And you guys got some time and we're gonna talk about that too. Because that was a very interesting story. But the one thing that we ended up learning being married that long was ain't nobody a mind reader up in here.
Mhm.
So if there's an issue, if you have an issue with me, then you need to come to me and communicate it because I can't fix what I don't know that's not broken. I can't do that. And I think a lot of what he ended up having to deal with would have been taken care of if he had just asked. But on the flip side, and I'm going to ask you, he really wouldn't have gotten an answer because of the situation she was looking to set up.
Well,
Or would she have?
I feel like he would have gotten an answer had he pushed it
Mhm.
because as a wife, if I see my husband is going crazy because he thinks I'm doing something that I'm not doing,
Mhm.
bump all that other stuff. No, this is
Right.
you tripping. This is what's going on. You done ruined it now
Mhm.
because you don't trust me. But I would never let him spiral like that.
Right.
'Cause it's like she said a couple times, like maybe this isn't a good idea, because she's living with him. She sees, what he's going through and stuff. But if everybody did everything that they should do, the movie would be very short.
Yeah. And was this also, because I know it's a cautionary tale for men, open your mouth. But was it also a cautionary tale for women, or did you even write it, or was it even written that way?
I think it was definitely a cautionary tale for both men and women, just relationships in general. Like the lack of communication can destroy a relationship. And that was a very extreme take on it, but that's why it was so interesting to me, because I am a married woman, and taking it to that extreme to kind of see how it might play out, in the real world, was fun. That's why I
Yeah.
just kinda wanted to leave it at the end, let the viewer decide what happened at the end. But my partner
No.
like, no, people want a part two. I'm like, well, y'all have fun with that. I'll be in the back office on this one, on the next ones, because I just don't see the point. But people seem to be enjoying the sequels, and they're actually they start shooting part 3 on Monday.
See, now before I go to surprise 2, I gotta let my wife know that there's a surprise 3 coming
Yes,
because
let
when
her
surprise
know.
2 ended, she said, I said, I'm going to interview her. And she said, well, you better ask her, is it going to be a surprise 3? I said, I will
Okay,
definitely. So I'm going to let her know that
let
there's going
her
to be a
know.
surprise
It's
3.
surprise 3.
Okay, because surprise 2. I love the detectives. Oh, somebody asked a question. Okay, someone said landlord looks intense. Everyone checks out the would-be tenant, but nobody checks out the landlord. Looking forward to watching this. So see, you got to do part 3. I'm glad you guys are doing part 3 because yes, in some instances, I fully agree that you just want the audience to figure it out on their own. But the first 2 were so good. They really were. And I'm not just saying that because you're on my show. But the first 2 were really good. And when you're left wanting more, you're like, okay, see, they're on to something. So let's talk about surprise 2.
Okay.
So he in the hospital, he all laid up because he done fell out. No, his he, oh Lord. And they're on him. So it kind of looks like he's kind of coming into what he always was. Is that would that be a truism?
At this
That
point, yes. Yes. Because keep in mind, from my perspective, from when I wrote the original,
Mhm.
that wasn't who he was.
Mm.
He wasn't this insecure, jealous person. That was not the perspective that I had in writing David Gamble. But in the continuation, that's pretty much the only route he could take in
Mhm.
order for the series to continue. Do you get what I mean?
Mhm.
Because if he
Mhm.
wasn't that, there would be no more story.
Yeah, you're absolutely right because now it's all about the cover up. And interestingly, and I think see, I can't really say because in the second one, the young lady was finding out some things. Am I right? Am I getting the first? Am I getting it mixed up with the first
Yeah,
one
in the second one, things were being found out, yeah,
by the girlfriend?
by their secretary.
Yes, and then things transpire. So I think at that point he was at the point of no return.
Mhm.
So now it's like, okay, you know what? I'm all in. It is what it is. Now it's about survival,
Right.
and I don't care who gets in my way. I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive this. So can you give us just a little hint of where Surprise 3 will be going?
I cannot say anything about
Oh
Surprise.
Lord. See, ladies and gentlemen, you're just going to have to wait until Surprise 3 drops. So when is the tentative release date for that?
Hopefully by the end of the year. I can't
Okay.
really say because it's totally up to Tubi at this point, but,
Mhm.
hopefully before the end of the year.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we'll definitely be promoting once we get the information from them, but, like I said, they do start shooting next week.
Okay. So I would love what I would love to have happen um when you guys are about to, release Surprise 3 is you, your husband, and the cast come back on and we can sit and chop it up and have a chat
Most
about
definitely.
what you guys expect from the film. So besides Tubi, so when Tubi does the original, when they make it a Tubi original, they license it. So would you be able to, let's say, if Netflix or Amazon came calling and they're like, Janaya, we want to put all three surprises on our platform. Is that something that you guys are able to do, or the fact
No,
that it's a
they would
Tubi?
have
Okay.
to negotiate that through Tubi. Yeah, 'cause
Oh, okay.
he has the rights to it.
Oh, that's great. So do you guys, with you getting original Tubi deals, does Tubi have anything in the works for filmmakers like yourselves where they would actually fund a film that you guys are making? Because I know they said something about a project that they're doing with Issa Rae,
Mhm.
where so does Tubi have anything like that for already established filmmakers whose work on Tubi has actually generated revenue for their.
I don't know. We
Mm.
have not encountered that ourselves, so I don't know. I'm sure
Oh,
that they do. It's just not something that we have had access to.
okay. Oh, well, I am definitely looking forward to Surprise 3. So besides that, what else do you guys have going on?
We have a lot of new films coming. So we have The Landlord. This should be dropping within the next couple weeks. Ten Toes Down. That'll be forthcoming, and then Beautiful Rage we shot in March. That's based on my third book. That'll be coming out hopefully late summer, early fall, and Swallow, which we did in April, The Kiss of Death. Again, hopefully sometime in the fall. So we just trying to keep the factory going.
Wow. So you guys are about to release a lot of films. How are you guys able to do that?
We spend a lot of time in pre-production. So,
Mhm.
we just kind of toward the end of 2023, we just kind of put our production calendar together, and then we just, start filling the roles and getting rehearsals going, and
Mhm.
just, my husband and I, we both left corporate America. I left in 2022 and he left last year, and
Okay.
so we're just trying to keep it going, keep people working.
So how does that work, um, business plan wise, budget wise? So are the two of you the sole executive producers on all of these films, or do you guys have like investors, partnerships, things like that?
We do all of those. So,
Okay.
we started out just us doing it on our own, and then as people, saw the work that we were putting out, they would come to us asking how they could be a part of it, and then, with so many films going on in Detroit, people see the value in partnering on things and, trying to keep the budgets down as low as possible so that we can keep flipping the profits and making more movies.
Okay. Okay. So damn, that question just slipped out of my head. Give me a second because I had something I had to ask you, but it. Oh my gosh. Oh well. So while that question is floating around in my head somewhere, where are you reading some of these comments?
Yeah, I see some.
I'm like, okay, I have absolutely no idea what's going on, but okay.
See one legit one. Can never see, unsee, and never unhear.
Does Janaya tease? Oh wait, hold on. Let's see. What did he say? Do you tease some of your work at film festivals, or do they go straight to festivals? Or
Oh,
do they just go straight to the platforms? That is a good question. Do you guys ever enter any of your work into film festivals, or is it straight to the
hasn't
platforms?
we haven't as of late. The last film I
Mhm,
think we put in a festival was Turn the Cheek back in 2019. But just based on how quickly things have been coming out
mhm.
and just trying to keep the funds rolling in so that we can keep doing movies, we haven't really paid much attention to the festival circuit because we try to put them out as soon as possible.
Okay. Okay. Well, this has been an absolutely amazing, amazing interview. But before you go, you got married at the age of 18. Wow. How did that happen? If you don't mind my asking.
Well, it was a case of when you know, you know.
Mhm.
And my husband, he met me at my very first job that I ever had. It was a men's clothing store. we had a mutual friend that had been trying to introduce us to each other while we were in high school, and we just kept missing each other. And we met organically on our own, and then we just hit it off. It is just, and after what, not even a month, we were talking about getting married. You know, it's just like one of those things. We just clicked, and we've been together ever since. We've been married
Wow.
for 29 years.
Whoa, that is beautiful.
Is it 20? Wait, don't, yeah, 28 years. Together, 29. We've
Get
been
it
married.
right.
I don't remember how old our son is. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. So 18, you get married. What did your parents have to say about that?
They had their reservations, but at the end of the day, they were like, there's really not much we can do, but they were supportive, and
Mhm.
they loved us through it, and we're still going strong after 29 years. So
That is beautiful. So now I know I'm getting a little personal, but being that young, what was it difficult or
it honestly wasn't, because
Mhm,
I mean, I think that when you, how can I say this? I've always been a one man type of female,
mhm,
and my husband, he's just a great guy. Like he grew up, he didn't grow up with his dad in his life, and he just made a commitment that he didn't want to be that for his kids. Like he wanted to
mhm.
be a great father, a great husband, and he's a great communicator. And I think that that is the biggest thing in any marriage, communication. So
Yes.
if you can foster great communication in your relationship, then there's nothing that you can't overcome. If you guys can communicate effectively, and be dedicated to working through things, instead of just we never look at walking away as an option. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I was curious because when I heard that, I was like, 18. Wow. I thought at 20, I thought I was doing something at the age of 22. But
You
you know,
were. You
yeah,
But I mean, it's just, I think that in our society now, it's just that marriage is just viewed as a convenience, and when it stops being convenient, then you just leave it where it is. And it's like, if you go into it as a lifetime commitment, then you're going to work at it
mhm,
from that perspective.
yeah, you're right because I've never understood people getting divorced after 2 years or
Yeah.
3 years. I'm
Grow
like, yo, you,
together.
like you still on the honeymoon, player. And one of the things because down through the years, ups and downs, things like that. But when I would talk to young people, one of the things that I would say to them is the test of your marriage is not when it's going well. I'm like, the test of your marriage is when y'all can't stand to be in the same room with each other. And you will run into those situations. It is what it is. If you're married long enough, you're going to run into a situation where you would prefer someone to be on the other side of the stratosphere. It just is what it is.
Mhm.
That is when the commitment comes in and are you about this life?
That part.
Not when you so in love with him, you can't wait to get home to see him, or you can't wait to
Yeah,
get home to
'cause that
see her.
doesn't wear off.
Hey, yeah, but look, listen, it is what it is. It's real talk. And so many people, as you said, when it gets slightly difficult, then you're ready to throw in a towel. Not understanding, and we had just went totally from film, but it is what it is. But not understanding that if you can work through that and get to the other side,
Hmm.
oh, it is so much better.
Yeah.
Because I could tell y'all some stories, but I'm not.
No,
but
but you're right.
yeah, but this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and spending an hour of your time with me because I know you and your lovely husband are extremely busy. So I truly appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with me. And I'm so looking forward to Surprise 3. So what's next besides everything going on. Where can people find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed our conversation. But you can find us on social media, Instagram at Blacksmith Enterprises, Facebook, Blacksmith Enterprises, and our website is black-smithenterprises.com. It lists all our projects and where you can find them, along with the books as well. And yeah, if you're interested in getting into one of our projects or being a part of it, we post all of our upcoming opportunities on all of our social media. So please follow us there and be sure to follow instructions. So you
Please,
know that.
please listen, ladies and gentlemen, follow the instructions because again, here's an assignment for all my new filmmakers, actresses, actors, and anyone that's in the business, especially if you're in Detroit. I want you guys to go and visit Black-Smith Enterprises and look at the website and read it very closely and read everything on that website. And if you are truly serious about this business, as Janaya said, follow the instructions because I'm going to tell you something. I've been doing this for 20 years and I know talent when I see it, and they are doing some absolutely phenomenal things. And this is definitely something that you want to be a part of, especially if you are a Black content creator in Detroit, Michigan. It's all about collaboration. It's all about building phenomenal relationships. And, I just can't wait to see what you and your husband do in the future. But
Thank
again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself and the amazing Janaya Black on a conversation with. If you like the episode, please subscribe on the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, all of that stuff. But more importantly, please go follow Janaya Black. Please go on Tubi and watch Surprise, Surprise 2, Turn of the Cheat, Street Code Broken, Sons of a Preacher, God Forgives, I Don't. And then what you want to go do is you want to go on Goodreads and you want to buy her books.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
That's what you want to do. So any final words?
No, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much. This is great.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, and I will end it as I always do. Love it like a hobby, but above all else, treat it like a business. Have an absolutely amazing, amazing night.